Hi, YouTube. My name is Josiah, and welcome to the Up the Court podcast. This is literally going to be the first episode, literally, as in, like, this is the actual first episode of this podcast. And yeah, like I said before, like I just said, my name is Josiah. You may also know me as Psycho on like other social media platforms, including YouTube. Yeah, but this is going to be my basketball centered podcast, I guess you could say. I don't know how often I'm going to upload this and whatnot, but this was just kind of an idea that just kind of sprung up in my head. So, yeah, I'm just gonna give this a try, and obviously it's gonna be NBA related because it's called Up the Court. You're gonna dribble the ball up the court, obviously. I'll figure out some sort of slogan later. But anyways, today we are actually gonna be looking at a Bleacher Report article that came out yesterday, as of you guys probably seeing this today for me as of recording this, and it's called the BS meter for the latest NBA news and rumors. Knicks buzz, Zion slander, and more. And before we get into reading this article, please give the video a like if you guys are expecting to enjoy this video, or even like, halfway through the video, maybe you want to hit the like button. Also hit subscribe, because obviously I would love to grow this channel and love to grow this podcast. But anyways, onto the article. And there's gonna be a lot of cuts, by the way, because obviously this is like really my first time solo podcasting, so I may mess up here or there, and obviously there's probably going to be cuts. There might be edits. I don't really know what I'm going to do yet, but yeah, let's just get into this. Okay, so switching to this screen, as you can see, I have the article up here, the BS meter for the latest NBA. I've already read this title before. It's by Greg Schwartz of Bleacher Report. I did have to block out the thing because of the fact that, number one, they're not sponsoring me, and number two, it's kind of hard to. I'm still trying to figure out a format for a podcast slash video when I kind of do the format like this. So we're just gonna see and roll with it. And as you guys can see, obviously we have a picture of Emmanuel Quickly. So Knicks buzz, probably the first thing that's gonna be on the watch list, or at least on the read list here. And obviously it's literally the first thing on the screen, or like the first thing that they pretty much put after the colon. So let's get on with it. Okay, it looks like I was wrong, actually. It looks like they want to talk about the Pacers first, who shout out to them because they obviously made it to the finals of the in-season tournament, lost to the Lakers. But Tyrese Halliburton and like Benedict Mathurin, Miles Turner, like all those guys, Buddy Hield. I mean, Buddy Hield is kind of, I guess, no, he hasn't. What am I talking about? But yeah, all those guys had finally the chance to really show what they could do, because I think it was like their second nationally televised game, or I think it was Tyrese Halliburton's like second nationally televised game. But yeah, I love this Pacers team, but let's see what Bleacher Report has to say, because obviously it says Indiana Pacers want to trade for a big athletic two-way wing, which it's already been reported multiple times that they've been looking for an athletic wing. And plus they're like literally they're in the playoffs right now. They're not in the play-in, they're in the playoffs right now. And I think adding a good athletic wing, no offense to Bruce Brown or anything, but I think adding a really like a good athletic wing that's on the market, I'm thinking like an OG Anunoby, Jeremy Grant, maybe. I don't know. Those are the two names that come to mind. Although Jeremy Grant does have like a lot of money that you would have to owe him, especially over these next couple of years. And I don't know if he necessarily fits the timeline, because I think he's older than Miles Turner. Yeah, I think he's older than Miles Turner, which would actually make him probably the oldest player on the roster. But anyways, let's get into what they actually have to say here. The Indiana Pacers are knocking on the door of becoming a true contender in the Eastern Conference. I actually really do like that team. This team, Tyrese Halliburton coming out of the draft was actually one of my favorite players coming out of the draft that he was in. I don't even remember. I think it was the 2019 draft. No, it was the 2020 draft. It was the COVID year draft, which I think had him, Maxi, Tyler Hero, just a bunch of guys. I think Franz Wagner was in that draft, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, it looks like Franz Wagner was in the 2021 draft, which is literally a year later. But like I said before, the 2020 draft was pretty stacked. You had LaMelo, Anthony Edwards. Like, there are so many good guys in that draft. Tyrese was probably my favorite player coming out of that draft. I actually was a fan of him actually projecting to go to the Hawks, because I felt that Trae Young kind of needed a secondary guard, or at least they needed like a guy that could either play the six man or play right next to Trae Young, kind of like the way that Tyrese played next to De'Aaron Fox. Like early, like within like the first 2 years of him being in Sacramento, like it was like him, Buddy Hield, De'Aaron Fox. And yeah, I thought that Tyrese would have been perfect in Atlanta, but obviously he didn't end up in Indiana. He ended up in Sacramento, and then getting traded to I almost said getting traded to Sacramento. Oh my god, getting traded to Indiana. And let's get back to actually what this article is saying. So Woj has basically reported that they've been aggressive in trying to trade for that big athletic two-way wing player that they need to build this roster. If that's OG Anunoby, if that's Pascal Siakam in Toronto, those kinds of players as they become available in trade talks. Yeah, like I said earlier, I think that OG would be a perfect fit because I kind of do feel like, yeah, he is like a couple years older. I think he's younger than Miles Turner. Obviously, I think he might be older than Tyrese Halliburton. He was the 2018 draft, I want to say. So he is old. Yeah, so he's younger than Miles Turner. So he kind of fits in right in between where these two guys on the photo kind of sit in terms of age. I think that OG would be an amazing fit on this team. But I do know that there have been rumors about trying to keep OG and Pascal Siakam, or at least like trying to keep OG and having Scotty Barnes there, which Scotty Barnes would actually be an amazing fit on this team as well. But let's be real, I don't think that the Toronto Raptors would be interested in all at trading Scotty Barnes because it kind of really does feel like he's really the focal point, or like he's kind of the building piece towards their future on whatever they decide to do. Halliburton should be the only untouchable player on this Pacers roster as the team looks to add defense around him. Bruce Brown is technically a two-way wing, but at 6'4", perhaps he doesn't possess the size of the player Indiana reportedly is after. Or I read that out of order. Sorry, I'm kind of horrible. Well, I don't want to say horrible at reading, but I don't read the best. But yeah, now that I think about it, they actually gave Bruce Brown. They threw Bruce Brown. They threw Bruce Brown a bag over the offseason, and while he has contributed a lot, like I have him on my fantasy, I think I have him on both of my fantasy teams, and plus I'm pretty sure that the Denver Nuggets would probably want that Brown alongside the other Brown that they have, Christian Brown, or I guess Braun. It's actually Brown, which it's weird because it's spelled Brown. Anyways, that's besides the point. That's where I think really having OG next to like Tyrese and Buddy Hield and like Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith and Miles Turner and all those guys that they have there, Benedict Mathurin, I think that would actually be really cool. I feel like you might have to give up Benedict Mathurin in order to get him, although I do feel like there could be a deal probably where they could maybe ship Buddy off, because I know that they couldn't come to a contract agreement or at least a contract extension over the offseason. So I don't know who would have to go on this roster, because I feel like, what do you call it? While they do say that obviously Tyrese is the only untouchable player, I do feel like Miles Turner, like there are a lot of critical pieces on this team that really can't be shipped out. I feel like you could ship out Buddy. I don't think you could ship out Miles. I don't know if Benedict Mathurin, if you want to ship him off already in exchange for a guy like OG, who you don't even know if he's actually going to re-sign, because he does have a player option that is around like 19 mil, which I feel like with the value that he's been playing at, or at least the way that I feel like the market is going to value him over the offseason, is not worth it for him. He'd probably get paid around like 23, 24 mil a year. But I do think it would be cool if OG did go back to Indiana, because I believe he went to university there. Yup, I was right. He did go to Indiana University, so I do think it would be kind of cool for him to go back. Kind of like a Victor Oladipo type story, but I don't think it would be a Victor Oladipo type story, obviously. Both Anunoby and Siakam would be terrific fits with the Pacers, who own all their future first-round draft picks, as well as an extra one in 2024, the least favorable of Oklahoma City Thunder, Houston Rockets, and Los Angeles Clippers and Utah. Wait, whoa, what? How did they get that pick? What trade did they do? Am I missing something here? Even if I'm missing something, I mean, I guess they probably did take an Oklahoma City Thunder pick, because all the teams that they named, the Thunder, the Rockets, the Clippers, the Jazz, they all were like kind of involved in like revolving cycle of like the Clippers giving the Thunder a pick, and then like, you know, the Rockets giving the Thunder a pick. Actually, a lot of these kind of go back to the Thunder. So I think they might have a Thunder pick or something like that. It does say that they have a 2024 draft pick, the least favorable of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Don't know if that technically means that they probably have one of the picks from the Rockets, the Clippers, or the Jazz that was given to the Thunder. Indiana should be checking on players such as Jeremy Grant, Lauri Markkanen, Kyle Kuzma, Dorian Finney-Smith, John Collins, and other veterans who can play the 3, 4, or both, and would help push the Pacers back into the playoffs. Yeah, I definitely agree. Sorry, you kind of got a sneak peek at what the second thing on this article was about, but I want to circle back to the Pascal Siakam thing because I don't feel like I've talked about Siakam enough. I do feel like it would be kind of weird to have a guy that's more of a 4-5 on the team because they have Obi Toppin, they have Jarris Walker, who they drafted, who I feel like hasn't been getting the minutes that he deserves. And by that, I mean basically the Pacers literally like don't play him at all, or at least like his game log the last few games, he's logged like either a minute or he's just been sitting on the bench. So I do feel like out of the guys that they listed, Jeremy Grant is an option. Kyle Kuzma doesn't play any defense whatsoever. Dorian Finney-Smith would be really nice. John Collins would be pretty cool, but obviously John Collins is more of kind of like the way I view Lauri Markkanen. Lauri Markkanen can play the 3, but I'd rather him be at the 4/5. Same thing with John Collins. Dorian Finney-Smith would be amazing for them because he's a hard-nosed defender. He can shoot the 3. He's just a really solid role player. I really do miss him in Dallas, but he had to be the, I guess, the key piece into getting Kyrie Irving. One more guy that wasn't mentioned, actually, that I do think would be an amazing fit on this team, or at least, like, I would love to see him on this team, is Mikal Bridges, but I don't think that the Brooklyn Nets, are trying to trade Mikal anytime soon, or at least, you know, he's kind of like the best player on that team. Him and Dinwiddie and stuff like that, them together, I don't think that they're planning to move that guy anytime soon. And according to the BS meter, no BS that Indiana will try to trade for such a player. Yeah, unfortunately, so we'll have to, yeah, that is true. I feel like out of the names that they mentioned, like I said before, Jeremy Grant, Dorian Finney-Smith are the two guys. Anunoby, whatever pronunciation you want to say. I feel like those would be the guys that you would like potentially want to aim for. I think Jeremy Grant, you may want to stay away just because that's a lot of years. He signed what, a 4-year deal, and it's I guess for like max money in terms of what he was valued at the time. I'm still surprised he actually signed that contract, even though Dame was like a day later was like, yeah, I want out. But that's besides the point. I feel like you trade for OG, you could get money off the books like that. If it doesn't work, if it does work, you can probably re-sign him because he went to university in Indiana. He went to school in Indiana. So you might have that to your advantage. I don't really know. Lauri Markkanen, that would be cool because while he hasn't been performing to the way that he was last year, I do think that he'd be a good fit on that team. Don't know how I feel about him playing the 3 because he is more of a big. Dorian Finney-Smith, love it. Royce O'Neal, technically, you could also try to get him as well because Dorian Finney-Smith and Royce O'Neal back in the day actually used to be the two guys that I would always confuse, and not confused, but I kind of felt like they were the same type of player, same mold of player, but I think Royce is, I almost called him Rolls Royce, which is technically his Instagram name. I think that Royce O'Neal is actually the tougher of the, I guess, like quote unquote like tougher out of the two guys. Second on today's list is the fact that the Pistons would need large offer to move Bojan. I almost put A in there. There's no A in there, but I do feel like there should be an A in there. Pistons would need a large offer to move Bojan Bogdanovic. Now, he just came back from injury. I think he injured his quad, so he pretty much wasn't playing in the beginning of the season. Although, even with him playing, Detroit, you haven't won anything, Bran. One of the biggest names of the 2022-23 trade market, Bojan Bogdanovic, ultimately finished his season in Detroit. Yeah, he was rumored to have been moved halfway through the season just because of the fact that last year Cade didn't play. Killian Hayes, I don't know what he was doing, but like he was killing everyone on fantasy, which was funny because it's Killian Hayes. And yeah, Jaden Ivey there. Ausar Thompson. I love Ausar Thompson. Sorry, this is completely off topic right now. Let me get back on this. Now with the team off to a horrendous 2-20, I almost said 20-2. Oh god, that would have been amazing if they were 20-2. 2-20 start to the season. Surely this is the year the Pistons made the veteran forward available, right? Well, when they made him available, or like when everyone thought he was available last year, Detroit was offered 2 first-round picks for him, but apparently, they still said no, which made no sense to me because you weren't playing for anything at the time. According to The Athletic's Fred Katz, shout out Fred Katz, I guess, the Pistons have expressed that it would take a large offer to move Bogdanovic, who only recently returned to the lineup following a calf injury. What does Detroit consider to be a large offer exactly? Bogdanovic is going to turn 35 in April. God, he's actually that old. I thought he was only like 32, but then again, he's been off the Jazz for like 2 years. Well, this will be a second year off the Jazz. So I guess I didn't pay attention to him in Detroit, only because I feel like after the 20 games that Cade played, I just lost interest because I did not want to watch Killian Hayes. Jaden Ivey was one of the guys that I really liked from last year's draft class, but now he doesn't. It just feels like his minutes have been inconsistent. Monty, you should. I don't know, man. His outside shooting would help a number of contenders, though he's on a team-friendly contract, 20 mil this season and 19 mil next season with only 2 million guaranteed. I wonder what the clause on that is, because I know that contracts like that, you have to, like, the team, I think it's usually a team or a player option, has to be accepted within a certain amount of time. Otherwise, it's going to turn into that 2 mil. Teams like the Lakers, the Magic, the Raptors, that rank near the bottom in the NBA of three-point accuracy could use him. Basically, yeah, I think there were rumors about the Lakers trying to pursue him. Then again, the Lakers kind of pursue everyone. The Orlando Magic, him and Franz Wagner and Mo Wagner, Jalen Suggs. I feel like Jalen Suggs is like the only three-point shooter on that team, because Markel don't shoot, John Isaac don't shoot. Paulo at one point was shooting like 2% from three, I think, last year. He doesn't hit three. He's not been hitting three-pointers this year really either. Never mind. Paulo actually has been kind of hitting his three-pointers. He's only taking like 3 a game and making like 1.2, but still, the Orlando Magic, yeah, they're not really that much of a shooting team. And then what was the last team? The Toronto Raptors. I mean, Gary Trent, Dennis Schroeder. Still, Detroit's best time to trade Bogdanovich was last season, when he was averaging a career high of 21.6 per game, 21.6 points per game, and knocking down 41% of his threes. He can still fetch a first-round pick and a different veteran player to plug in the rotation, although it hardly seems like a large offer. Honestly, yeah, I think that last year should have been the year that you guys traded him, because you could have gotten those 2 picks and then flipped it into something else. But I'll be honest with you, I really don't know what the Detroit Pistons should do. I feel like ever since they lost that game to Washington, which I thought they were going to win, I just have kind of lost faith, because not fate. I feel like Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duran. They have Alec Burks on that team. I believe they have Alec Burks. They don't have Nerlens Noel anymore, but Asar Thompson, I love Asar Thompson. Doesn't matter if he can barely score, if he's airballed threes and what he airballed shots, this, that, and the other. I still love Asar Thompson. It kind of just feels like Detroit has so many pieces. Like, they have so many puzzle pieces, but the puzzle just doesn't fit together. I don't know what the answer for this team is. Anyways, let me go back to the BS meter. It would be hard to imagine a team sending the Pistons multiple first since Bogdanovich. Yeah, the injury history, the fact that what did they say he is? He's gonna turn 35 literally in like 4 months from now. I don't know. It's just hard for me to see what Detroit's gonna do. A little BS here. This is the message Detroit should want to put out there, but by the end of the day, getting a good first round pick should be enough of a return. Yeah, I feel like just get whatever you can for a guy that's, number one, aging, and number two, just came off an injury. Obviously, the sample size isn't big enough, but you guys should have traded him pretty much when he was at peak value, because I'm not saying that his value has like gone down dramatically, but it's not what you could have gotten last year. Knicks, Emmanuel Quickley being monitored as a trade target. Look, man, I know that Malcolm Brogdon, I think it was Malcolm Brogdon, won Sixth Man of the Year last year. I really liked Emmanuel Quickley's season last year way more than I did Malcolm Brogdon's. Is anyone happy in New York this season? It doesn't feel like anyone's happy in New York any season, or at least like these past couple of seasons. It feels like no one has been happy. We've already heard complaints from Evan Fournier, Josh Hart, and Quentin Grimes about their roles in the past few months, and Emmanuel Quickley has a case to be disappointed as well. I know that like Evan Fournier's complaints about New York and like Tom Thibodeau and like, you know, his playing time, everything basically, like ever since he signed that contract, and Thibodeau is the type of guy that's like, you're not playing well, I'm gonna sit you forever. This guy, the next guy, literally a next man up mentality. And even if you are that quote unquote next man up, he might bench you too, and then like the old guy or like the third string guy might just end up playing a bunch of minutes instead. I don't know, it's just a revolving door with Tibbs is what it feels like. But yeah, Evan Fournier has obviously really expressed his displeasure with the organization. Josh Hart, I guess there have been a couple of things here and there that I've heard about Josh Hart not being really happy there. I know the Quentin Grimes, his whole complaint was the fact that Tibbs basically benched him, but I think ever since he started coming off the bench, he's been a little bit better. I don't know. I haven't watched the last couple of Knicks games to really be able to tell. On a roster loaded with guards and wings, his minutes are down to 24.2 a night, a drop from the 28.9 a season ago. After failing to come up with an agreement on a rookie extension this fall, the 24-year-old faces an uncertain future with the Knicks as he heads towards restricted free agency. Well, the number one, the fact that he didn't get the rookie extension, or like that he didn't sign an extension after pretty much being like a 6 man of the year candidate, and the fact that number two, his minutes are dropping, especially in a contract year, I could see why he would probably be, as they say, a trade target, because if he's not happy in New York, he might be happy elsewhere. But I don't want this to become like a Bones Hyland thing, where Bones Hyland was pretty upset with the way the Denver Nuggets were kind of treating him, and then he ended up on the Clippers, and then the moment that James Harden got there, like all of his minutes basically disappeared the moment that James Harden got there. So it's kind of like, I don't want Immanuel Quickley to end up in a situation like this, because he was a guy that was 6 man of the year candidacy, and then like now his minutes dropped, and then I don't want him to go to a team that's gonna be like, hey, we traded for you, but honestly, even though you thought you were gonna get minutes here, you're not gonna get any minutes at all. He definitely deserves to have a bigger role, whether it's in New York or elsewhere. In 27 career starts, well, wait, 27 career start, wait, what? He definitely deserves to have a bigger role, whether it's in New York or elsewhere. In 27 career starts, he's averaging 21.7 points a game, 5 rebounds. Basically, I'm going to round up right here, 5 assists, and shooting 46% from the field and 39% from 3. Wow, that's pretty good. Up from 3 up to 40.8% overall, and 36.2% from deep as a reserve. Wow, okay. I did not know that he was shooting. I didn't know that those were, I guess, his like split numbers from being a starter and a bench player. Well, he's more a combo guard than a true floor general, and that makes for a small shooting guard at 6'3". Quickly would thrive in sharing the court with a big playmaking guard slash wing, a la LeBron James or Luka Doncic. Him in Dallas would be amazing, because it's funny because the Knicks have Jalen Brunson, and I feel like Immanuel Quickley could come in and kind of, I guess, replace that Jalen Brunson type feel that they didn't have last year. Although I mean, could I even really call it? That's the Mavs were confusing last year. They got Kyrie, and then all of a sudden they just, like, the game that they needed to win, they just like said like, nah, forget about it. I don't know what the strategy was there, Mark Cuban or even Jason Kidd or whoever decided to do that, but I think that Immanuel Quickley going to Dallas, that would actually be really cool. I do have a lot of faith. I keep saying fate. I have a lot of faith in Jaden Hardy. Oh my god, I almost said Jaden Durant. In Jaden Durant. That's not even a guy, it's Jalen Durant. Yeah, I had such big faith in Jaden Hardy, but I feel like Quickly being a little bit taller and, obviously having more experience in the NBA, I think that he would actually be like a perfect 6 man for Dallas, or, kind of replacing some of the minutes that they're going to lose, because Kyrie, thank God the injury is not too bad, or at least what's reported wasn't too bad, just a sore foot. Um he could, step into that role and kind of, be a spark plug for them, whether it's replacing Kyrie's minutes or kind of being that spark plug off the bench. Spurs, the Raptors, the Heat, the Wizards, and the Jazz all need long-term solutions at point guard. Okay, so the Spurs, they have Trey Jones. They've been experimenting with the Jeremy Sohan thing. Hasn't really been working out. I think they decided to use Jetty Osman as their point guard. So, yeah, I feel like the Spurs are still trying to figure out the point guard position. It would be kind of cool to see him with Pop. I would love to see him play with Wemby, because honestly, all Wemby needs is a dude to just throw him the ball. And instead of doing like a reverse layup, just dunk the ball, bro. And I think that Immanuel Quickley could help do that, or at least, I think it would be fun to watch there. The Raptors, they have Dennis Schroeder and Malachi Flynn. I personally, I'm just not a big Raptors fan, so I wouldn't want to see him there. The Miami Heat, if he could go there, and for some reason, any player that, or not any player, but like it feels like so many of the players that touch the Miami Heat culture. Jaime Jaquez just came in, Tyler Hero. Like, I just feel like the Heat could take a guy like Immanuel Quickley and turn him into a star. Like, if they just benched Kyle Lowry and put Immanuel Quickley in the starting lineup, I think that would be really cool to see. The Wizards, I'm sorry, him and Jordan Poole on the same team. No, I don't want to see that. And the Jazz, they have what, Keontae George, who I think Keontae George has been like I don't know what, like where he got found, like who found him, but like he's been balling for the Jazz. So don't even put Quickly on that team. Like I don't want to see Quickly with him at all. Just let the young gun kind of just do his thing in Utah, because he is, I don't know where they found him, like I just said, but he has been amazing. They found him at Baylor. Shout out Baylor for having an amazing point guard. The BS meter says no BS here, with Quickly's minutes down and the Knicks hovering in the middle of the East. Rebuilding teams will need a yeah, I guess so, but I don't know if I want him to go to the Raptors, the Wizards, or the Jazz. So if he's gonna go to a rebuilding team or go to a team like the Mavs, the Lakers are looking to trade D'Angelo Russell apparently. Don't know how you make the money work exactly, but D'Angelo Russell in New York would be hilarious again, because that means he played in Brooklyn and then now he plays for the Knicks. Anyways, that's completely besides the point. Yeah, no BS here. I think it would be cool to see Emmanuel Quickly kind of get a change of scenery and hopefully, you know, land in a spot where he would be able to sign an extension and he can kind of be like, you know, one of the main guys, or like, you know, a building piece, or even just like, you know, a part of a core. Dwight Howard, Isaiah Thomas return to the NBA. I feel like this is a narrative we literally see like every year. Like I love you, IT, but I think actually no. I think IT does deserve the opportunity to get, you know, minutes. I just don't want him to do what he did in Denver, where he's kind of like, my job's not to fit in, it's to stand out. No, just do your best to fit in with the team, man. A pair of former All-Stars would like to make their way back into the. I mean, I feel like you hear this like every year, whether it's like Dwight Howard, Michael Beasley, Vander Blue. I have no idea where that guy's even playing. Kemba Walker, although he hasn't been great in China. I think he's in China right now. Boogie Cousins. Dwight Howard recently posted on X, I still call it Twitter, sorry, I refuse to call it X, about his desire to make a comeback and play in the in-season tournament. He was 38, literally like 4 or 5 days, less than a week ago. I'm not retiring before I have a chance to say I played in an in-season tournament game. They can give him a 10-day contract somewhere, or at least I guess next year they could give him a 10-day contract. I mean, he's younger than LeBron, and LeBron is still probably gonna be in the league next year. So, hey, he could do it. It's possible. As Thomas told Forbes, Matt Essa, I'm still trying to play the game of basketball. I want to get back in the NBA, so I'm working out and staying ready. I feel like I see an Isaiah Thomas workout video, or like him working slow grind, hashtag slow grind, or whatever he does, like every few months. I I I gotta respect it, man. Like he got a lot of heart. He got a lot of heart. Do I think that he deserves to be on an NBA roster? Yeah, I do think that he can belong on an NBA roster. What NBA roster? Yeah, I couldn't tell you. That's right. Dwight Howard did end up in Taiwan, and he was shooting like three. They were letting him do whatever he wanted, and he was shooting like 20% from three, which is hilarious because you would think that his numbers would be higher. He was loving it in Taiwan from all the videos that I saw, but obviously, I'm pretty sure his heart is still with the NBA because, you know, that's everyone's dream. So why wouldn't he want to come back? I thought him with the Warriors, like the Warriors just play him in the JaVale McGee role, would be amazing because, yeah, while they have Kevon Looney, I still think that they kind of need some help there in the center area. And plus, like, I don't think it would hurt to have Dwight Howard just play a couple minutes. You have Kevon Looney, you have Dario Saric. Just have Dwight Howard go out there and ball for just a couple of minutes. He could catch a lob or two. He could block a shot, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. The fact that Isaiah Thomas was still shooting 40% as a bench player is still pretty good. See, I still think that he does have the ability to play backup minutes. Like, I don't see him as a starter because I just don't know how I feel about his hip, but obviously he's been doing that slow grind or whatever the heck he calls it, and, you know, I think that he does deserve to potentially be on an NBA roster. Howard and Thomas are almost certainly done. Yeah, I mean, Dwight... Okay, the fact that Dwight is 38, Isaiah Thomas is probably, like, mid-30s, like, something around that. Yeah, I feel like if no one gives them a 10-day contract, I still think that Dwight could probably play next year. I don't know, just because there have been like so many things about like he's been on so many teams. They listed up here that he was where was he? The Lakers, the Mavs, the Hornets, all three of those teams, and he still couldn't get like, you know, a two-way deal or anything like that. It was just like 10-day contracts or something like that. And even then, I didn't feel like I got to see him a lot. BS that either player signs another NBA contract. It was going to happen. Oh yeah, okay. If it was going to happen, yeah, it was going to happen last season. Yeah, I do agree that. I mean, Dwight had the chance this year, but the Warriors didn't. It just didn't, you know, it just didn't happen. I thought it was. I think I saw like Draymond. I forgot who it was, but someone said that they kind of liked what they saw from Dwight, but I guess the rest of the organization didn't. Zion Williamson doesn't listen to Pelicans pleas for a better diet and conditioning. I I don't know, man. With Zion, I kind of feel like with all of the photos, we either see him ripped or we see him like 3,000 pounds overweight. And then like him not hustling. I don't know. There's just been like this whole narrative with Zion that I feel like it's not swept under the rug necessarily, obviously, because of the fact that it's being pointed out in this article and people have been talking about like how like there's a bunch of like chefs and nutritionists that have been talking to him and stuff like that. This is hard for me not to believe. And it's just like a lot of his comments about like, yeah, you know, I'm trying to be locked in or whatever the heck he said. Like, there's just a lot with Zion happening right now. 23-year-old has been available in 19 of the Pelicans 23 games, but it hasn't looked like the same player. His 13 points and 2 rebounds against the Los Angeles Lakers in the in-season tournament semifinals were a huge disappointment, with New Orleans losing by 33 points in his 25 minutes. They got blown out in that game. I stopped watching halfway through. The moment that it hit halftime, I was like, I'm literally kind of over this game already. Like, honestly, just looking at Zion, like, yeah, he's been scoring a lot of points, but I just feel like he's not moving the same. Like, I just don't know what it is, man. Like, it really might just be the diet. He's having a problem, like, quote unquote, staying locked in. Like, I don't know. There's just like been a bunch of drama surrounding Zion recently. According to Christian Clark of the Times, I don't know how to say that word, so I'm not going to attempt to. The Pelicans have reportedly stressed to Williamson that his diet and conditioning need to improve, but the forward doesn't listen. Yeah, that's the big thing that has been kind of been floating around the NBA in terms of the big rumor about Zion, is that like, you know, he's been talked to about like dieting and like all this other stuff, but no one apparently has just been like listening, or like nobody as in like nobody's words are pretty much like, I assume, like getting through to him. Obviously, I don't know Zion on that level. I don't think any of us know Zion on that level unless you're just like somehow in his camp watching this video, or I guess this podcast, which would be very impressive. But I just feel like the way that Zion has kind of handled things, it just hasn't been like, I don't know. It's just been so confusing for me, because Zion was a guy that last year, or like a couple years ago, I had him as a dark horse MVP, and now I don't know. I just feel like I'm not impressed with him anymore. Like, I remember all the hype about him, and just like I feel like he hasn't kind of like lived up to that hype at all, really. It's really disappointing to me. The 2019 number 1 overall pick noticeably winded in the early event of the Lakers. Yeah, basically what I just said. I feel like he just doesn't move his feet on defense at all. This simply isn't the same player we saw at Duke, despite his weight actually being listed higher in college, 285 being, wait, hold on, with the numbers. Wait, it's literally just a pound. I thought he was gonna be like 260 or something like that. A quick eye test will tell you that one of these numbers is definitely a lie. If I had to guess, it might be the second one. Williamson looks far more grounded now, as his dunk numbers last 2 seasons have dropped by 38.3% over his first 3 years in the NBA. 1.42 a game compared to the 2.13. He's settling for more looks from 3 to 16 feet ever, with a career low in his attempts, 54%, coming from 0 to 3 feet of the rim where he's most effective. Yeah, I just don't know what. Just Zion has just been so weird to watch recently. I love Brandon Ingram. I've always loved Brandon Ingram. I do kind of think that he's kind of like the player that we see is kind of the player that we're gonna get with him. But like, dude, I just thought Zion was gonna be so much more than what he is. I mean, he was an all-star, 2 years ago, averaging like 28, literally on like only layups, dunks, and like pretty much like close to the basket shots. What happened to that Zion, man? What happened to you? Like you need to, like, yeah, they say you need to stay locked in, or like that you're like, you know, I'm having like I'm trying my best to lock in. No, dude, you gotta lock into whatever's happening on the organization. You want to win or you don't, or at least play like you want to win or you don't. This is a sad situation as Williamson has the talent to be one of the very best players in the world if he improves his conditioning. His stamina only seems to be getting worse, though it's clearly affecting his. Yeah, of course. Um, I don't know. We always see these photos of Zion like, oh, he's so ripped. Oh, he's losing weight. This, that, and the other. And like in the season, like, why does it look? It's like the James Harden fat suit. It's like he's just putting on the fat suit, but he actually has the fat suit. Like there's no suit to put on. It's just okay. You know what? That's so mean of me to say. I'm sorry, Zion, but like it's just so weird. But we don't know the details of what the Pelicans have told Williamson, but it sure looks legit from the outside. No BS detected. Yeah, just kind of like from the eye test, you can really kind of see that Zion hasn't looked the same as he has the last 2 years. So it's just something that we kind of have to get used to. And well, not get used to, but it's kind of something that I feel like some people may have predicted this. I certainly didn't. For those of you that kind of did see like Zion kind of, I guess, like falling off a little bit, we're only like yeah, I guess props to you, but like we're only what 20 to 23 games in. Like we're about a quarter of the way through the season. Things can change, and hopefully things do change with Zion, because I would like to see the Zion that we saw make that All-Star game that was averaging like 28 points. The dude that was like the dude that he's supposed to be. I don't want like, yeah, I just don't want him to like, fumble the bag. I mean, he got the bag and then he had this whole like, I don't know, there was a lot happening with Zion these last couple of like these last couple of months. But anyways, guys, that is actually going to be it for today's podcast, I guess you could say. I don't know if I guess this is like quote unquote my podcast. I do want to thank you guys so much for watching, if you actually made it this far, or even like tuning in and listening if you guys didn't make it this far. There's probably gonna be a lot of cuts because this is my first time really doing one of these. Like I said before, if you guys haven't already, please consider hitting the like button, also hitting subscribe if you actually enjoyed the content that you saw. I don't know when the next time I'm gonna upload is, because I feel like it's just kind of whenever, number one, I get the time, and number two, there's news or an article or just something that I want to discuss, which it's the NBA. I always feel like there's going to be something to discuss. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much. And yeah, I will catch you guys hopefully soonish. Hopefully this isn't the last episode, the first and the last episode. Hopefully this is the first of many episodes where I just get to ramble about random NBA stuff. Anyways, guys, this is the Up the Court pod. You just walk down the street and up the court, and yeah, I'll catch you guys on the flip side, I guess. I have no idea what I'm doing here.